Right, so, well, thank you all for joining us tonight. And get my screen set up here. Okay. So we have our prayer book. So if everybody has your one-on-one prayer book, and Carla, if you're interested in continuing with us, if you'll send us an email with your address and information on it, then we can send you a copy. If you'll send your mailing address, so we can snail mail a printed copy for you. You might like.
Okay, well, I'll send an email. Thank you.
I beg your pardon? I lost you. There you are. Okay. So yeah, email it to me. Don't put it in the chat. I may not get it in the chat. Okay, Tommy's with us tonight. Tommy, aren't you you're traveling or someplace, I understand?
Yes. Wait, am I muted? No. I'm in California right now.
All right, well, good.
Yeah, it's LA. Yeah, I'm here helping my uncle out with some stuff.
Okay, very good. All right, so if you don't mind, we'll get started. I'm going to just do short opening prayers. So if we go to page 5 in our prayer book, the short refuge prayer. And everybody mute your phones, please. So Kate, yeah, thank you. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Okay. On page 5, the short refuge prayer. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Sangye chodang soka sodun la gosum. Excuse me. I'm doing too many things at one time. Try it again. Sangye chodang so ge dun la. Again, I'm doing it wrong. Sangye chodang so ki chodam la. Shangju bardu dagni kabsu chi. Dagi jinso ki pe sonam gi. Jola penshir sangye ju pasho. 4 measurables. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Manam kadam yam pe sem chen tam she dewa dang dewe gurdang dempar jorchi. Dog now dung da now gi gudang dwell war jorchi. Dog now me pe dewa dang mi dwell war jorchi. Nei ring jag dang ni dang dwell way tang namla ne pa jorchi. Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments about anything that we've been talking about in the weeks past? Or anything about that you've been interested in understanding that we haven't discussed?
I have a question about one of the events that was at the temple yesterday.
Yes.
There was a long period in which someone was reciting a list of, I guess, like things that cause samsara,
Yeah.
while everyone was doing a, the bowing down.
Prostrations.
Yes. How often is that practiced? Because I missed it yesterday, but I would really like to attend one.
Well, it's usually done once a year. But you can do it more often, but we try and do it once a year at Dharma Surya. Kempo Chappelle, who was there, come and lead that. And but anybody can do it at any time. It doesn't require an empowerment or anything, but you should be familiar with some of the meaning behind it. So if it's something you're really interested in doing, we could review it sometime soon, and you can see what the meaning of it is.
Okay, I would like that. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that was the 35 Confession Buddhas, is what that was called. So, who are the Buddhas? What are the Buddhas? And how do we become Buddha? Buddhas are complete human beings, are those human beings who have gone through a process of purification to the point that they have overcome any attachment, any aversion to any thing, to even this life. And Buddhas can take many different forms. Well, we usually think of the Buddha as a human, but a realized human. And we think that a human being may not be capable of being a Buddha until a human being stops becoming a human being. So that is, let me see here, asking me to enable this. Just a moment. So if you want, there's transcripts that you can enable on your screen, or you can disable if you prefer. You just go to where it says live transcript at the bar at the bottom, and you can disable it or enable it. So being a human being, can keep us from being a Buddha. But there have been many, and there are many now Buddhas who are among us, and we all have that Buddha potential within ourselves. So Ken Wilber, who is a great philosopher of our time, who is about my age, and he speaks, very frankly, that we're all enlightened. We have that ability to recognize that if we can one-pointedly see our true nature, see our true mind, our big mind, our heart mind. And then we can control our intellectual mind, and we can control our physical body to the point that they're not creating emotions for us. They're not creating attachments or aversions to us, and so on. So Ken Wilber said, not only are we enlightened, but the thing that's difficult for us is living an enlightened life. How do we do that? It's one thing to recognize this Buddha nature within ourselves, but it's another thing to say, okay, I've got this Buddha nature. Now I'm going to live this life. I'm going to be a Buddha in this lifetime. And that's what's really, really hard. So for us to be able to do that, and for us to be able to approach Buddhahood, we talk about the holy enlightened beings. So the holy enlightened beings are the Bodhisattvas. Bodhisattva. Bodhi means enlightenment. Sat is a being, and sattva is a holy being. So it's the holy enlightened beings. And these are human beings like us who are on the path to become Buddha, to become enlightened. Now, it's interesting to put this into perspective, especially now, tonight, when they're talking about this new space telescope, and they're exploring this stuff out in space and everything, you know, are there human beings out there? Are there Buddhas out there? Are there Bodhisattvas out there? Is it only on this planet that there are human beings, and that being a Buddha is just a way of expressing what it is to be a complete human being, what it is to be a spiritual human being who has a spiritual body, who has an intellectual body, and has a physical body. So this is a very interesting question, and a question that takes some contemplation to be able to put into perspective in your own life. And to help us do that are these bodhisattvas, because these bodhisattvas are on this path and are teaching us what it is, what this path is, and what qualities we as human beings have to work with in order for ourselves to recognize these three bodies, our true nature, and what it is to be enlightened, what it is to be Buddha. So to get to know these Buddhas, to get to know these bodhisattvas is very important. And we talk about this as we're working from the bottom up. We're approaching the Buddha from the bottom up. We've all experienced Buddha in this lifetime, but we've also experienced it before we were born. Where were we before we were born? Where do we go when we die? Are those two places the same? So that's another interesting question, and something that we can talk about. There's lots of Buddhist philosophy about it, as well as there's other philosophies that talk about this. Right now, we have to deal with this waking body that we have right now, who we are now, and to be able to recognize our Buddha nature now, and to be able to live that. So the bodhisattvas, the holy enlightened beings, are like the sons and the daughters of the Buddha. So it's a good way to think of that they are like sons and daughters of the Buddha. And there's five basic families. There's 5 Buddha families that we talk about. So we use a mandala. We use this graphic representation. If you wouldn't mind putting your screensaver up, and everybody can see this for a moment, and see that there it is. You can see it. I'll pin it so everybody can see it. So here you can see that there's it's a square. There's the blue, there's the yellow, there's the red and the green, and in the center is the white. And so these are the 4 quadrants. This is the mandala. This is a 3-dimensional object that we are looking down upon, and so we're seeing its width and we're seeing its length, but we're not seeing its height. So you have to imagine for a moment that you can see that. So, and there are tiers that are on that. Let me get my. And there are tiers that are on that mandala. So let me, for now, let me turn off the. So here, we go back here. So this here, this is a mandala. This is a stupa, which is a mandala. So we were looking at it like this in that graphic that Michael put up, but it's actually like this. So it's got tiers on it, and on these tiers are like levels or steps for these holy enlightened beings who are helping us to recognize our Buddha nature. So our Buddha nature is the whole entirety of this mandala, of this stupa. So we need to see that, but we see it in stages. We see it in steps. If you have questions as I'm going along, don't hesitate to ask. And it's a good idea to take some notes if you can. So as we're approaching this to be a complete human being, we have to understand what it is that we have as a spiritual human being that is going to help us to understand this. So there's 8 great bodhisattvas, we say. And these bodhisattvas are meditational deities. We experience them through our meditation. And we can read about them, we can understand, we can receive teachings on them and so on. And we develop a relationship with these 8 great bodhisattvas who are all within ourselves. We begin to recognize this within ourselves. We begin to see this, but we need to have something that we can point to. We need to have something that we can guide us, that we can understand and so on, because these things are happening all the time simultaneously in our lives, but we're not trained to recognize them. So they're just like passing right through us. But meanwhile, they are who we are. So to understand these 8 great bodhisattvas, who are like the sons of the Buddhas, the sons of, so I started talking about the, if you can put the graphic back up again, Michael. Yes, thank you. And I'll pin that again. So this blue section here is the Buddha of the water sign, the Buddha of the water sign. And this yellow is the Buddha of the earth sign. And the red is the Buddha of the fire sign. And the green is the Buddha of the wind sign. And in the center is the white, is the Buddha of the space sign. So these 5 families, the water, the earth, the fire, the air, and the space are the 5 elements of which make up not just our lives, but the entire cosmos. And this new satellite is going to, hopefully bring this to bear, and we'll be able to see its many, many manifestations, all these gazillions of galaxies and so on like that. We're going to see all this. So all this is all taking place within this. So we can say that it's not just limited to our human existence here on Earth, but that's the only thing that we have to deal with, is our humanness, is our human life, our human body, our human mind, and so on. So we need to put this into this context. We need to understand this. So going now to this water body has two bodhisattvas, and there's 2 bodhisattvas in the earth part, and then there's 2 in the fire part, and 2 in the green part, the wind part. In the space part, there's only Buddha. It's only Buddha. It is pure Buddha. It is pure enlightenment. These other parts are human attributes that are on the path to become that purity. So Michael, you can go back and release that if you like. Okay. So now, who are these bodhisattvas? Whoops, that was not that. I didn't want to do that one. I wanted to do this. There we go. So in the water body, in the water part there, are 2 bodhisattvas. Ksitigarbha is his Sanskrit name, and Maitreya is the second one. This name, Saya Ningpo, is the Tibetan name for Ksitigarbha, and Gawa Jampa is the Tibetan name for the Bodhisattva Maitreya. Just to make it a little confusing for us, Maitreya, there is a Buddha named Maitreya, and there is a Bodhisattva named Maitreya. The Bodhisattva Maitreya is who we're concentrating on now. We'll come back to the Buddha Maitreya another time. Ksitigarbha and Bodhisattva Maitreya are like brothers that are in the water sign, that are helping to bring beings to understand, or have qualities to bring beings to understand who they are, what they are. Kasiti Garbha means essence of the earth. That's what his name means. Essence of the earth. And Maitreya here means like brotherly love, means friendship, means loving kindness, means grace. Kasiti Garbha is like someone who is planting a garden, wants to plant food, wants to plant flowers, wants to plant trees, something like that. And because of knowing the qualities of the earth, knowing all the nourishment of the earth, all the things that are here on the earth, the soil, the nutrients, the water, the rain, the sun, the warmth, the air, the wind, and the space in which these plants can grow. So Kasiti Garbha is able to conceptualize this garden. So we as human beings are able to conceptualize that we want to attain this enlightenment. We want to attain this level of being a complete human being as if it is a garden. And we are the gardener who is going to do this. So he has that vision. He has that view, Kasiti Garbha. We have that vision about ourselves. Now, Maitreya, his brother Maitreya, he has the grace. He has the loving kindness. He has the wisdom to be able to know how to do this, to know that there are certain seeds that will grow in certain climates at certain times of the year and need certain kinds of care and so on like that. Maitreya has the wisdom of being able to lay out this garden and begin to plant these seeds and begin to understand what it is that we need, what it is that we need and how about to go do that, where to get the seeds, where to plant them, what kind of fertilizers to use and things like that. So it's very practical. So being able to know this. So we within ourselves, if we are now this gardener who now has this wisdom to be able to do that, to allow ourselves to grow into this complete human being through the activities of Kasiti Garbha and the activities of Maitreya. So this is in the water sign because the water supports all these things. The water, we look at water and it seems to be perfectly clear. Sometimes it will be a little murky, a little have some mud in it or something like that. If we look at it under a microscope, we see all these kinds of life that is living in the water and so on. So the water is essential in being able to propagate this awareness of this life, or this fruition of this life. We couldn't do it without this water as we know it as human beings. What it is on other planets, we can only guess, but this is what we have to deal with as human beings. So then we go to the next section, which is the earth section. And in the earth section, are two more Bodhisattvas. So there's the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, and there's the Bodhisattva Akasagarbha. So these are two brothers, and these are brothers of the earth. So Samantabhadra, let me see here. Samantabhadra means universal goodness. Universal goodness is what that means. There is a Buddha named Samantabhadra also. So we're not going to go there tonight. We're going to concentrate on the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, who is universal goodness. So he's like the first of the Bodhisattvas. He's the oldest of the Bodhisattvas. He was the one that was first articulated by the Buddha, by Buddha Shakyamuni, who was, who was a historical Buddha who taught the Dharma. So Samantabhadra, this universal goodness, translates into devotion. Devotion for the spirituality. Devotion to be a complete human being. And what does it take? Devoting one's life to recognizing, realizing what it is to become a human being, to become completely devoted to that. And by doing that, we're devoted to all things. We're devoted to ourselves. We're devoted to each other. We're devoted to nature. We're devoted to earth. We're devoted to other human beings, other animals, and so on. We're devoted to the preservation and the growth of all these beings. So this devotion is an essential quality to have in order to be a complete human being. We had the vision of the essence from Kasiti Garbha. We had the loving kindness. We had the grace. We had the wisdom of Maitreya to be able to plan the garden and so on. And now we have to have the devotion to maintain the garden, to make sure that it's getting the proper nutrition, that it's getting the proper sunlight, that it's getting the proper water, and so on like that. And also to remove anything that may be impinging upon its growth. So weeds and things like that, that would rob it of its essential needs for it to be able to grow and to flourish and to become fruitful and so on. So this devotion is a strong requirement that we need to have within ourselves for our spirituality. So we're the gardener of our spirituality. We need this devotion. We couldn't really do this without our devotion. Akasa Garbha, Namke Ningpo, is the essence of space. What does that mean? The essence of space. The essence of space is the growth potential. And the growth potential means that there's going to be transformation. Things are going to change. And we have to allow that, we have to promote that to happen. If we have those 5 elements, or the four elements of water, earth, fire, or heat, and air, we have those 4, but we put a can on top of that seedling that is beginning to grow. We cover it up with some kind of an object so it can't grow, so it doesn't have room to grow. It doesn't have that space. It's robbed of its growth potential. It can't transform itself from being a seedling into the next stages of being a plant and growing more, and leaves coming, and the leaves developing, and flowers coming, and the flowers then producing fruit, and the fruit then comes, with the fruit we're able to have the enjoyments of that particular plant and so on. And within that fruit then are the seeds for new plants to come, for more plants to come. So it's that growth potential that comes from transformation. So we have to give ourselves the ability to be able to transform ourselves. We have to give ourselves the space in which to do that. If we are constantly limiting ourselves and not giving ourselves the opportunity to learn new things and to try new things, to do different kinds of practices, then we're not going to be able to have that growth. We're not going to be able to have that transformation. So the earth, these 2 bodhisattvas are in the earth sign. So these are the nutrients. We have to have the nutrient of the devotion. We have to have the nutrient of the space. We have to think of it in that way, that it allows this propagation to take place and so on. So we are all these bodhisattvas. All these bodhisattvas are within ourselves. So these are the first four. So now we go to the next group. The next group is in the sign of fire, the sign of heat, the red quadrant of the mandala. And here we have the Bodhisattva Manjushri. His Tibetan name is Jamyang. And we have Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, and his Tibetan name is Shenrezig. So these two names are probably the most recognizable of the 8 great bodhisattvas, because we hear about them. They're very, very important. And within all of these are all the other bodhisattvas, but these two represent, Manjushri represents, the realized wisdom. The realized wisdom. And Avalokiteshvara represents the actualized compassion. So what do these two mean? Manjushri is this wisdom of now recognizing that we are a human being, but that we also have all these spiritual component parts within ourselves, not just our physical component parts, not just our intellectual component parts, but we have these spiritual component parts, which these bodhisattvas are among these. So this is what our meditations start with. This is what deity yoga is all about, that we learn about and so on, is learning all this symbology that we can translate into who we are as human beings, this metaphysical explanations of trying to understand things in these metaphysical terms and so on, that we use these names that have these representations of all these different qualities and so on. So Manjushri is the realization of all of that. It sees the mundane, the everyday stuff that we have to deal with, but it also sees this metaphysical stuff that is beyond ordinary explanation. It is something that some people might call mysterious. We don't like to call it mysterious. We don't like to use words like that. We just say that they are meditational, that they are something that can be experienced through our meditative process. And our meditative process is being able to control our body, use the energy from our body, together with controlling our brain and controlling that energy, using those two energies now to open up our heart center, our big mind. Somebody has their microphone on. If you would mind, please turning it off, so we're not getting any feedback or strange noises and so on. If somebody has a question, you want to speak up, go right ahead, please. So I can't see everybody because of this view here. We've got these names up here. So if you want to say something, just turn your microphone on and speak.
That was just Zara arriving.
Okay, she does that. She does that. But when she lands, man,
I know.
Trembles, you know?
Yeah.
All right. So Manjushri is this knowledge, this more than knowledge. It is this wisdom. It is this knowledge is being able to have book knowledge, but wisdom is being able to have a gnosis, of being able to understand the what, the why, and the how, that all this all fits together. So all this metaphysical all comes together with this and so on. So Manjushri represents that. Being able to actualize that now is Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara is the Bodhisattva of compassion. Manjushri is the Bodhisattva of wisdom. So you can see these two brothers are like two sides of the same hand. You can't have one without the other. You can't have this wisdom without having the skillful means, without having the method of this compassion. If you have this wisdom, then when you share that is through your compassion. And what it is that you are sharing is your method, is your skillful means, is the actualization of that wisdom. And we're talking about this spirituality. We're talking about this meditational transformation that we go through, that we need to have this devotion for, et cetera, et cetera. So now, we're growing into these flowers. We're growing into these seeds. We're growing into these fruits. So Avalokiteshvara is the Lord who looks down, is the translation of Avalokiteshvara, is the Lord who looks down. The translation of Manjushri is gentle glory, gentle glory. This glory of this phantasmal, I'm not pronouncing it right, this fantastic wisdom, this glory, but it's a gentle glory. It's a very humble glory. It's not something of, the kind of, dominance that it's overpowering people. It is something like just a pure realization of love and of compassion and of joy and of equanimity, of sameness of all beings and so on. So it's very, very, it's very magnificent. There's no real good words to be able to describe it in its entirety. It has to be experienced. So Avalokiteshvara, the one who looks down, is the Bodhisattva. In his name, it implies that he has had this realization, has this enlightenment, and is able to look and see all the other human beings and be able to know how to help all these other human beings. So Avalokiteshvara has 1,000 arms and has 1,000 hands. And in each one of his hands, he has an eye. So it's said that he sees all the suffering of all beings. He sees the conditions of all beings. He sees all the causes of the conditions of all these beings and so on. And he also has the tools in his hands to be able to help beings to be able to overcome their suffering, to be able to overcome their defilements, their confusions, and so on. So his name, the one who looks down, the implication is there that he has a transcendence who is able to recognize the conditions of everyone and also the way in which beings can help themselves to rescue themselves from these conditions and no longer have attachments to them or have aversions to them. So it's an important distinction. Avalokiteshvara also is representative of a lotus flower. And the lotus flower is a very important symbol that we use in everything that we do. All of these deities, all of these meditational deities are either sitting on or standing on lotus flowers. And what this represents, what the lotus flower represents, is freedom from defilement, liberation from defilement. A lotus flower grows in a very slow-moving pond, slow-moving water pond that might even be to some degree putrid. You certainly you wouldn't want to go walking in there barefoot. You wouldn't want to reach down into the muck and the mire and pull up a handful of that mud and rub it all over your body and so on like that, because it's got all kinds of matter that's decomposing and it's filth and so on. So this is an analogy for ordinary human beings who have all this confusion in their lives, have all this illness in their lives, all this emotions in their lives that are controlling them, and they're not being free. They're feeling like they're being enslaved and so on. So the lotus flower grows from a seed in that muck and mire, and the sprout goes through the water as a long stem, and it finally reaches the surface of the water and then pops open, and then the lotus flower comes up out of that. And the lotus flower the petals are completely pure, beautiful colors and so on, unstained by any of the contaminants that are below in that water, that are in the water itself or below in that muck and mire. So we say that the lotus flower represents this liberation from those defilements. So all these deities, all these bodhisattvas, all these Buddhas are resting on this flower, on this liberation, having overcome this, that the gardener that we are working at, we now become successful in being able to have this flower on which to be able to radiate this beautiful color and wisdom and skillful means and devotion and transformation and grace and vision for all beings to be able to see, and for us to be able to exalt. So this is all in the fire. So the fire, this fire sign is kind of like the heat, the transformation. Our body generates heat from the transformation, from the digestion, of the food that we eat. If we didn't eat, slowly, our body temperature would go down because there's nothing to generate that heat. There's no fuel for that. So this fire represents that process of digestion, the process of transforming all these nutrients and so on that we consume into heat to give us energy to be able to do all the things that we do as human beings in our ordinary lives, and not the least of which, the most of which, is our meditation process. If you've ever engaged in some kind of meditation and so on, I think you'll find that you get hungry afterwards. You find that you've burned up a lot of energy through this, and that is one of the practices that we are generating. That we're aware of this energy, and we are cultivating this energy to come up. So now we move to the next sign, to the next part here, and we come to the wind sign. And here we have two brothers, two bodhisattvas. This first one is a mouthful. Sarva Nivarana Vishkabin. Sarva Nivarana Vishkabin. His Tibetan name isn't much easier, Driba Namparsao. And then his brother is Vajrapani Chana Dorje. Sarva Nivarana Vishkabin, his literal translation means remover of obstacles, the remover of obstacles. So what does that mean? Remover of obstacles. Another way of saying that is purification. Being able to purify those obstacles, not necessarily to annihilate. We're not annihilating, we are purifying. There's a big difference. Annihilation kind of means that you're destroying something. But no, we are taking that which is an obstacle, that which is difficult, and we are purifying it. We are recognizing what the cause of it is. We are recognizing the conditions that it creates out of those causes, and that we are bringing them onto our path of wisdom from Manjushri, the wisdom through our compassion of Shenrezig from Avalokiteshvara to purify those obstacles. And then from that purification comes great power, comes great ability, comes great freedom. Vajrapani is the Bodhisattva who represents that power, Dharma power. Dharma is the pathway of this Buddha nature, this nature to become awakened. So Vajrapani is the Bodhisattva of power, Dharma power. And so it says Vajrapani, his literal translation is he who holds a Vajra in his hand. So Vajrapani is holding a Vajra, and this Vajra is symbolic of indestructible wisdom. So this is in his right hand in this fierce hand position like this. And in his other hand, his left hand, he's holding a lasso. So here is a lasso. And he's in a very powerful body position. And he is, with this indestructible wisdom, he is able to, let me put it this way. From the lasso, he's able to bind himself to that purification, to that which needs to be purified. And then from that transformation of that purification, then comes this great power. And this great power is in his right hand, is going out to all other beings. So the left and right, these different tools that these different deities are using is important. The left hand we're receiving is coming into us. Whatever tool they are using is coming in through the left. The left is closest to our heart. So we say that that wisdom, that whatever is coming into our heart, and then it manifests within ourselves, and then it goes out through our right to help all beings, for the benefit of all beings. The Bodhisattva is doing all this for the benefit of others. And through the benefit of others comes the benefit of the Bodhisattva, comes the benefit for themselves. That's how they help themselves, is through doing others. Bodhisattvas are not selfish beings. They don't do any of this for themselves. They do this for the benefit of others. And then whatever benefit they do for others comes to them as well. So this is an important thing to remember, coming in through the left, going out through the right. And we'll visit this a little bit more as we continue our discussion tonight. So now we have, these are the 8 great bodhisattvas. So this wind in this part of the wheel, this where Sarvanarana, Vishkabin, and Vajrapani are, is the wind. And the wind means movement, So moving through our bodies, moving out of our bodies, moving throughout all of nature and creation and so on. So this movement is this growth potential, all this now, all coming to fruition, all coming to be realized. So now these 8 great bodhisattvas, you see, are the vision of the cultivation of Kasiti Garbha, the wisdom of the how to lay out the garden itself of Maitreya, the transformation of Samantabhadra for the changes, to be able to affect all these things, to allow these changes to happen, the devotion So so that transformation would be Akasagarbha. Then the devotion to do all this was Samantabhadra. And then the flower and the wisdom, the fruit and the flower is Manjushri and Avalokiteshvara. And then the purification that comes out of this, the result, the fruit of this, and the power that comes out of this is Sarvanarana Vishkabin and Vajrapani. So these 8 great bodhisattvas are the elements, are the aspects of being a complete human being, to be able to purify ourselves, to recognize what our goal is, and to recognize that we have these tools that we need to take responsibility for to be able to affect our Buddha nature. Does anybody have any questions at this time? What do you think of this discussion?
Beautiful.
Carla likes it. Okay.
I love it because it represents ourselves, and I never saw it that way. Wow. Oh, neat. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Did we get an org chart, Lance?
There is an org chart. You have to come to the center.
All right.
I can't make it too easy. There is an org chart. You can make your own org chart. You know.
What is a North chart? I don't even know what that is.
Org chart is an organizational chart. So it's like a flow chart. So yes, you can see who the mother and father is. You can see who the brothers and sisters are, and you can see who the other supporting.
Who handles finance? You know,
Something like that. Yes. So, Tommy, what did you think of this conversation?
I thought it was very interesting that we've heard about these bodhisattvas before. I don't know. I guess I had heard about energies, the elemental energy sort of thing in other Tibetan Buddhist reading that I was doing, but not anything to the depth of what we were talking about today, I don't think.
Okay. I hope everybody took notes.
Is
B,
there
how
a
about
quiz
you?
at the end?
What were you gonna, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said, is there a quiz at the end?
It could be, yeah. I'd like to do that. I do that with the kids, and it's very effective. But to be able to, you know, to bring this into yourself, you know, into your consciousness, you know, this is conscious raising stuff. You know, this is good stuff, and these are precious gems. These are wisdom jewels that we shouldn't just let float through us and not take cause to try and understand these better, to contemplate these things. Tom, what do you think about this?
That was a great, beautiful explanation of the Bodhisattvas. Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Did it make sense to you?
Of course.
Had you ever thought of it this way before? Had you been exposed to this before?
Yes. You know, about long time ago. But it's great to, you know, that you refresh all this. You know, that this is very very meaningful. You know, that you're giving this wonderful lesson to us.
Brendan, what do you think about this?
I find it fascinating, and I actually found of all the different 101s I've been to so far, I found this the most challenging because it's not something I have a frame of reference for. naming the different bodhisattvas that you mentioned. But I'm curious as to why in outer space, it's only the Buddha, and that why in outer space it's pure enlightenment. I found that the most interesting thing that you said today.
Well, that is just a figure of speech.
Okay.
You know, is it possible that these bodhisattvas are so huge that we don't recognize them, we don't see them, and they are part of outer space as well? You know, is that possible? You know, and to be able to see the outer space, this physical space, this cosmos, and so on, is just an appearance to us. You know, but the spiritual quality about it that permeates the appearances, that goes beyond the appearances, that goes beyond the physicality, that goes beyond the intellectual meanings that we give of this, is there this spiritual quality that we have to experience, and that's what we're really trying to get to. You know, there's all kinds of physical representations of these bodhisattvas, and we're not showing you those right now, because there's a tendency for us to attach to those anthropomorphic images and thinking, oh, this is all, you know, there's human beings out there and so on. But what it is, it's the spirit that is everywhere. It is the spirit that is in space. And it's the spirit that is here. And it's through that spirit that we experience all of this. Zara, what did you think of this conversation?
Oh, hello, Lance's train. I kind of my phone shut off twice during listening to you because I was in my car, so I cut out for about 20 minutes total across your speech. But the portions I did hear, I liked. For me, it's just listening to you and making connections because of where I am on this journey, and with you specifically, Lance, because you've been my teacher. It's just all these things that you're saying where I the repetition, and now I'm like having more aha moments as you're repeating things or saying them in different ways. I'm like, I see what he means now. So for me, it's layering on a really nice foundation with your description of these Buddhas and how I am that, right, in my everyday life. So it's making some of these connections. It's beautiful. Actually, it's beautiful that I'm going through this. And I love that I have the insight to know what I'm going through at some level intellectually, the process I'm going through. So I'm very thankful to be on this journey and to have you as my teacher. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. But did you find it difficult or challenging, confusing?
Last year, this time I would have. This year, I'm able to digest it and then say, this is how Zara, like in this body, relate to what you're saying. Like as you're describing how the Buddhas are represented, right? Like each, their physical representation, right? And how I go about my day. So I find it medium level, right? Whereas last year it would have been this just concept, like I digesting it intellectually. Now I can sort of digest it experientially.
Okay, thank you. Kate, how about you? You have a comment?
So I found this a little humbling. I've heard some of this in a slightly different way before. It's good to, refresh and hear in different ways. But, some of these bodhisattvas I have come to know a little bit. Others are still complete mysteries to me. And I suppose I have a lot more learning and meditation to do to become more familiar with the full path.
Do you see that? Is this a helpful technique, a system, a visualization in which to kind of, kind of grasp these ideas, these concepts.
Yes, I find it very useful, and I'm very comfortable thinking in terms of things like the 4 cardinal directions. So this whole framework is already familiar to me. But there's a lot to fill in.
Okay.
And I want to say one more thing. I'm particularly intrigued by the Tibetans including space as one of the elements. I'm not used to that. And so I really wonder, I'm looking forward to learning more about what that means.
Well, Achichoki Joma, when we do, she's the queen of space.
Okay,
So
good to know.
yeah, so now we've got, we're building a framework now on which to be able to take some of these practices that we've been doing and put them into the framework and see how it is that they work. And this is all part of the genius of the Buddha Dharma. This all started with the Buddha, so he taught these things 2,600 years ago. And they've been expounded upon and so on. And we are the beneficiaries of this. I think it's very powerful to consider who we are as human beings in this space and time. They talk about that this is a life of degeneration. This is the age of degeneration, they call it. And it's true that, that at some point everything was maybe known and then it's all kind of devolved and so on. And maybe we're at this nadir or something like that, but that doesn't mean that everybody is there or everything is there. There still is wisdom there. There still is enlightenment there. There's still a Buddha's there. And we are very fortunate. We've got very fortunate lives. Whether we were born here in America or we've emigrated here to America, or have we had to face terrible things in our lives and so on. I would think that most of us have been very blessed with the intelligence that we have, the education ability we have, the comforts we have, the food that we have, and so on. Many, many people on this planet don't have that. So we're the beneficiaries of these things. And now we're coming to this spiritual realization, that will affect the rest of our lives and the rest of lives of people that we have a sphere of influence with, not just in this life, but in the next life to come. Michael, you have any comment about this? What do you think about this?
I'm always enchanted by the opportunity to look at the multitude, the infinity of sort of threads that make up the universe and that represent the universe in the local sense. So, this gives me an opportunity to look at elemental forces and identify them in the world and working in action in myself, in my being. It's nice to put names to forces and features, and it's nice to be able to remember that certain forces, certain features, certain names have a certain kind of influence, and when they mix and mingle, they create a whole different sort of kaleidoscope of activity. I mean, it's very typical, I think, of the tantric stuff to see such complexity simplified in terms of 5 colors and 80 entities that make up all of existence. It's an art, and I think it's enlightening just to contemplate that as a lens on life.
Thank you. Gary, have you been here with us this whole time? Do you have a comment about what we've been talking about? Are you having some technical problem turning your microphone on? You may not even be hearing me. All right. Okay, we'll come back to Gary when those electronic synapses close. Okay. I would like, so these were the brothers. These were the 8 great Bodhisattva brothers. I'd like next to talk about the 8 great Bodhisattva sisters. So, but before we do that, you want to stand up, stretch, have a drink of water, do something that you need to do to refresh yourself. So please, take a couple of minutes. We'll come back together again and then we'll start this conversation. Anybody has any comment that you'd like to make while we're waiting would be fine.
Lance, I'm halfway through the jewel, not the jewel, the white hole in time that you recommended.
Oh yeah, what'd you think of it?
It's amazing. The evolutionary part in the beginning, you kind of had to get through that to get to the good part, right? But
Right.
Now I'm at the part where your ego drive, and how it's not really helpful, and why worry and fear, the things that we worry and fear are psychological constructs. Money, power, wealth, status, and how none of that is really helpful to us. And there's so much Buddhism in it. It's really.
Yep.
So thank you for the recommendation.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad that you're reading it, and I look forward to hearing your comments when you finish it.
Thanks.
Okay.
I got a copy of
Hey,
it, so now it takes the record for my brownest of books.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, it must be 30 years old. The copy that I have.
Oh, really? Oh, so you got
Yeah.
a copy.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, Zara, were you trying to say something?
I was just gonna make a little joke-ish. I was gonna say I would love for you to quiz us
Oh, okay.
at the end. Like, you can give us the test you give the kids.
Oh, yeah, you want that?
Sure, Lance, why not? That way you can see what if we're absorbing the content in a way that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. We'll do it.
I love that.
Next time. We'll do it next time. Make it easy. We'll do multiple choice.
Or a group responding.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to worry. Essays are coming.
All right.
Oh, I like essays.
We're gonna do a series where we'll do essays up from 101, from Buddhism 101.
We can have a workshopping, essay workshopping.
Yeah, we can do that on our Saturday practices.
I don't know, Lance, you're barking up the wrong tree here. I'm an English major.
Oh, well, good. Well, I can handle that. You can make sure the grammar's right, and we'll talk about the content.
Grammar is a lie. But
Grammar's a lie. Well, if you're English or you're Buddhist, that's probably right. All right. So these next names are relatively easy, and to be perfectly honest, I didn't prepare a screen share for these names, but I will use the screen share that I've got to maintain a context, and maybe now you'll want to write these down if you haven't written these down, if you have questions about these. Okay, so in the water sign, in the first of the water sign, which is the blue color, which is the sign of Kshitigarbha and Maitreya, are the two sisters. One sister is Lasya, Lasya. And the other sister is Pushpa, Puspa. Lasya is laughing, dancing, smiling, celebrating, enjoyment, big enjoyment. And Pushpa is flowers. So these two going together with Ksitigarbha and Maitreya, Ksitigarbha was the cultivator, was thinking about how we're going to do this. We're going to cultivate the land, has the essence of knowing that the land can support this. Maitreya, knowing how to affect the cultivation, how to actualize the cultivation. And then comes the dance, the celebration of this life, this dance of life, of all the seeds germinating and coming up and so on. And then Pushpa, the result of flowers that are going to result. So the celebration of light and color and fruit and so on like that. So these sisters are that joy, the joy aspect of the work that the Ksitigarbha and the Maitreya are putting into this. They are the joy aspect of that. Then we would go to the next, which is the earth sign. And here, Samantabhadra, who was devotion, and Akasagarbha, that was transformation. And the two sisters are Malya, 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 and the sister Dupa, Dhupa. Malya is the garland. It's like a mala beads, the mala beads, Malya. So a garland of flowers, a garland of beads, a garland of seeds. These are actually seeds. These are Bodhi seeds, this particular mala string I have. So that is Malya, garland. And Dhupa is incense. Dhupa is incense, the symbol incense, which represents a purification, a protection. So here we have devotion from Samantabhadra. We have transformation from Akasagarbha that is taking place with the garland, that is this garland, which is the method being actualized. The method being actualized and the fruit of that. The mala beads, we count our recitations, we count our practices on the beads. So it is a system of how we are enabling ourselves to do this and keeping track of what it is that we need to do. So it's a systematic approach. The incense is an atmospheric environmental protection that we are creating. The incense keeps away negativity, keeps away confusion, keeps away annoying animals or annoying insects and so on. Doesn't kill them, but they may not like it. If they do come, maybe they will surrender to it, and maybe they themselves will transform. It will become something that gives them cause to be reborn as a higher being than the insect or animal that they approach this with. So in order to do the transformation, in order to have the devotion, we have a system and we have a local protection to help us to do that. And the two female sisters, the two sisters, are providing that for us. So then the next is the fire sign. Manjushri is the wisdom. Avalokiteshvara is the compassion, the method. And the two sisters are Gita and Aloka. Gita is song, means song, singing a song. And aloka is light. So the light kind of goes with the wisdom light. We talk about the wisdom light. And the light is bringing, dispersing the darkness that is around us, the confusion that is around us, is being broken up, is being facilitated by aloka, by the sister aloka, the light. The Gita is the song. The song is the compassion. The song is the celebration of the compassion. The song is being able to demonstrate what it is to be able to learn to play an instrument, to learn to develop the voice, to develop the song, to develop the meaning of the song, and so on like that. So it's representative of the meaning of being able to actualize the compassion through the music, through the song. So the two sisters, the light and the song, are great celebration of the work of the Manjushri wisdom and the Avalokiteshvara compassion. And then we go to the two sisters in the wind section, the wind symbol, or the wind stage, the wind section. And so we have Sarvanavarana Vishkabin, that was the purification, and Vajrapani, which was the power, the Dharma power. And the two sisters are Gandha, 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 Gandha. And the sister is Narti, Nirti, 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 Nirti. So Gandha is the fragrance, is like the scented water, is the fragrance. And that would be associated with the purification, that cooling, that being put that on, and there's this purification now of I guess we could be gross about it and say, the smells and so on that we might bring, from our body and so on are replaced by the perfume, by the scented water, by the fragrance that is being brought to bear. And this is part of the purification, that whatever smelliness, whatever offensive odors now are subsumed by the fragrance. The nirti is the food. The food is direct relationship to giving us energy, which gives us power. So this food comes from that power of Vajrapani. So this offering dance. So of food, and you see the celebration again of life is being done now with these two sisters. So each of these sisters, each of these Bodhisattva females are all bringing the celebration of life, of taking what it is to be a human being and bringing it up to an exaltation of a celebration, and using that as a celebration, using that as a mindfulness that, yes, we've got our defilements, we've got our confusions and so on, but we need to be able to bring them on the path to be able to purify them. We're not annihilating them, we're purifying them. And the sisters are helping us to do that, are celebrating us to do that and so on, with their smiles, with their laughter, with the dance, with the songs, with the music. All these different characteristics and so on are parts of this. And it's not to say that one is more great than the other. They are all the same, and that they are all part of this whole on of our transformation, of our being on the path, our changes and so on is all part of this. They all go together. And we find that some may be a little bit more obtuse than others, but there's something else that is associated with that that makes it much more enjoyable. So we need to be able to rely on all of this, all interconnected with each other, to be able to celebrate being a human being. There is a practice that I'm actually doing now that's called chakra samvara. It means the binding of the wheels, chakra samvara, the binding of the wheels. And it's basically, fundamentally, it comes down to the father and mother principle of being a human being, of being on this planet, being on this earth, having this kind of life, being part of nature. Maybe it's part of the great cosmos as well. All the elements are involved here. All the male elements, all of the female elements are involved here. And it all has to do with the celebration of life and recognizing that we've got this great ability. We've got this great humanness. The human, we can say the human is the scourge of the earth. It does terrible things, and it's true. But not every human being does that. Some beings do. You know, what are we going to spend our time being part of, thinking about? Are we going to dwell on the negative, or are we going to exalt and be examples of the positive and be able to show that that positive and negative, that dualistic nature, all comes together on the path and becomes liberation? What are we liberating from? We're liberating from that dualistic nature. We're liberating from all that confusion. So to be a human being is to be able to do that. When we talk about the 6 realms of being a human being, being a human being means that there's a human God within us. There's a human demigod within us, like a titan, a great master, a great controller, a great manipulator within us. There's great animal within us. There's great misery of the pretas, great suffering within us from our attachments and our aversions. And there's great hatred within us that we can fall prey to. And that all this is within being in the human being, the human realm. And that for a human being who is able to take all this together and to be able to purify all this, has great wisdom and has great skillful means. And this is what we're trying to cultivate. This is what we're trying to develop. This is our garden. So we should look at this opportunity and say, wow, this is great. You know, and for those of us who have many years left, you know, to be working at this and take the responsibility for helping other beings and so on. For those of us who are older and know that, you know, we have a limited amount of time, that we need to really work on that liberation much more and be able to say that every day counts. And we need to be able to help all beings as much as we can. And through helping other beings, we're helping ourselves. If we do it selfishly, then we're missing the point. We're feeding our egos. We need to be able to do this for the benefit of others. So any comments about this? Okay.
I wonder, because the sisters at the water sign sort of represented joy, and then the ones at the earth gate represented protection, you said? I wonder if there was another.
It was more of a systematic approach to the joy. You know, that there's a system in place.
Oh, okay. For Lysa and Pushpa,
Yes.
is the systematic process to liberation and joy.
Yes.
I wonder if do the other pairs of sisters have a theme as well?
Well, the other ones, let me see, the Mala and Pushpa. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's right. Yeah, Mala and Pushpa were of the earth, and that was the systematic approach, yes. And then Gita and Aloka, which were of the fire sign, and they were of the song of compassion and was the light of wisdom. So the song, being the actualization of that wisdom. If you're a musician and you're playing, you just go up to the keyboard or you go up to the stringed instrument or you go up to the drums and you just start making noise and everything. It really doesn't mean anything. But if you have practiced, if you understand the language of music and you're able to harness that and put that into a song, into a melody and so on, then it has a transformative power. Then it has something there. So there's like light, that is the wisdom, the song that is trying to be conveyed, the meaning, and then the lyric or the melody that is trying to be conveyed in the song. So those two are doing that. And then Gandha was the fragrance and Nirti was the food. So this was the continuance of the power of the transformation, the continuance. This was the energy that was continuing. This was the being able to take our humanness and all that smells about our humanness, to be gross about it, but to make it fragrant, to make it beautiful. And then to be able to make it like food, to make it like nourishment for others, so that it continues, that there is this continuum. It just doesn't stop with us. It continues, that we are part of something on and on and on.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So all of that is an enjoyment. Any one of those things you can look at as an enjoyment. We should look at as enjoyment. Even the systematic approach, we should enjoy the practices. We should enjoy the music. We should enjoy the dance, enjoy the perfume, enjoy the food and everything. So there's this element of enjoyment to it all. Yes.
Are there events that include dancing at the temple?
There's folk dancing. So it's not necessarily, the Buddhists, the lamas have lama dance, which is like a story that is being told through dance and so on. But the lamas, they don't support an aggrandizement of dance and so on. So, but and the folk people, yeah, there's great dance and great, you'll see that, yes. I'm sure on our website there's some videos of women and men dancing together and so on. It's beautiful. It's very nice. Okay. So what this is all within, how we got to this part here, was when we were talking about the 9 jhanas that we've been talking about, this section of Buddhism 101, and we were talking about the Yoga Tantra last time, and we were talking about how the union is yoga, and the Tantra is the continuum. So now we're getting into this part of the path where this transformation is taking place. And to have this transformation take place, we have to have an intellectual idea of what it is that we're doing. So all this kind of play, this characterization, this symbology that is within us and so on helps us to understand what that is, to be able to come to the loving kindness, the wisdom, to come to the compassion, the method, to come to the enjoyment, the empathetic enjoyment, and to come to the equanimity, to see that we're all connected. This is the bodhicitta. So these bodhisattvas are our primary connection as human beings on the path to become a Buddha. Through knowing and through actualizing these 8 great bodhisattvas, brothers and sisters, bringing that together, this is what leads us to becoming a Buddha. Do we have a consciousness of shifting into becoming a Buddha? No, it's a transference. It's like it's an experience that just happens naturally. It's not that we say we're going to do this as much as we are activating ourselves as being a complete, pure human being. And then all of a sudden we get a glimpse. All of a sudden we become a Buddha. All of a sudden we see what it is to be a Buddha. Along the way, we're cultivating becoming bodhisattva. But then when we have that Buddha, it happens spontaneously. It happens without any effort. And then if we can stabilize that, we maintain that effortlessness in being that Buddha, like that. As being a bodhisattva, there's a degree of that as well, but there may be some backsliding. But that's a gift. We say, oh, I got more work to do, and I can see what the work is. So we say, okay, now I know what to do. So it's all being on the path of experience. It's all doing these things. We can't intellectualize it. We got to do it. Where do we do it? We do it on the cushion. And then we take it with us when we get up off the cushion. So next week, I'd like to finish up with some more of the Maha Yoga, the great yoga, and the Anu Yoga, and the Atta Yoga. So these final points of, and to be able to give you, a context in which all this is taking place. So maybe to give, some incentive to keep working and enjoying what it is that we're doing. Okay, anybody got any comments or questions?
This is going to be very 101-ish, but exactly what are the bodhisattvas that you've been talking about? Because you talk about them as they exist within our consciousness, they exist within each of us, but are they also somewhat like in Christianity, angels, spiritual entities that exist within the universe that we can't see, but we can experience? Are they both?
Yeah, something like that. You can think of them that way, but it's much more subtle than that. Those are gross ways of thinking about them, and that's okay. But at some point we have to give that up. So they are within ourselves. It's within ourselves. So with the practices that we do, we begin to see these aspects, how these things work. When we do practice for Manjushri, when we do practice for Avalokiteshvara, we do practice for Vajrapani, then we begin to, and then they have their mantras, and we're really, concentrating our energy, and we begin to have those glimpses. So yes, so we begin to recognize those within ourselves. But it's all within the human experience. That's the important thing. That's the significant thing here. It's not out there, it's in here. Okay. All right. So we'll keep referring back to these guys, and we'll do our dedications. So if you got your prayer books. So I'd like to give a little bit of an explanation. We got a little extra time here, so I'd like to give a little bit of explanation of these prayers. So if you've heard this before, that's wonderful. And there may be something new that you'll hear, and maybe there'll be something that you'll bring up that'll remind us of something that we didn't say. So so this first stanza, when we talk, we're on page 18, 19, 20, and 21. So this lineage dedication prayer. So our lineage, the Drikung Kagyu lineage, is over 800 years old. And the Kagyu lineage is even older than that. But nevertheless, these are the Kagyu masters. So we're saying Dorje Chang, Talopa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, Dharma Gampopa, Pagma Drupa, and Lordri Kumpa. Please bestow upon us the most auspicious blessing of all the Kagyu lamas. So this Kagyu lama, the Kagyu lineage, this is the lineage of the yogis, is what the Kagyu means, the lineage of the yogis. So the yogis were the ones who would go off into the hills and so on, into the caves, into the hermitages, and would spend many, many, many years developing their meditation, as opposed to the scholars who would be in the monasteries and so on like that, and who would be developing philosophical, treatises and discussions and so on like that. Both are very important. Both are very important. And the Kagyu lineage was the lineage of the yogis who brought together with the scriptures and so on, with those philosophies and so on that grew out of that. So we're paying homage to those beings. So then we say this middle stanza, it says, by this virtue, may I achieve the all-knowing state, and may all who travel on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the ocean of samsara by defeating all enemies, confusion, the cause of suffering. So these four waves of old age, birth, waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, these are qualities of the sentient beings. This is how you define sentient beings. Are they born? Do they get sick? Do they get old? And do they die? So whether it's a human being, whether it's an animal, whether it's an insect or whatever, this is criteria to be able to see that. And to understand that we are in this ocean of suffering, that we are in this samsara because of our confusion. Now, as I said before, we're very blessed that our level of confusion has a lot of light in that confusion. We have a lot of understanding that we already bring to bear, and a lot more growth that we can do, and a system in which we can do this. So it is not something to think, oh, that we're lost. No, we are in a good position to be able to continue this, to be able to go on and be able to overcome this confusion. We do this through the next stanza. This is Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind. Where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. So bodhicitta, what is bodhicitta? What are the four qualities of bodhicitta? Zara, do you remember? Zara must be taking a break. Okay. Who knows? What is bodhicitta? What are the four vast, immeasurable qualities of bodhicitta? Okay, Michael.
That's equanimity, compassion, loving kindness, And what?
Yes,
B.
Was it joy?
and joy, yes. But who knows the proper order for them? B, do you know that?
I think it's joy, compassion, loving kindness, and equanimity.
Ah.
Ah,
Anybody else? Tom?
Loving kindness is compassion, joy, and equanimity.
That's correct. Yes. It's important to get these things, right. Okay. So bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Bodhicitta are the four qualities that all enlightened beings have and that they actualize. That's what makes them great beings, that they have this and they do it all the time, despite what conditions they may be in. There are enlightened beings that are in the hell realms. There are enlightened beings that are in the animal realms and in the hungry ghost realm and in the human god realm and in the human titan realm. And they have to be there to help those beings that are caught in those realms to see what it is to be an enlightened being. So that's what we are working to do. So the excellent and precious mind, this is the mind of the enlightened Buddhas, the mind of the enlightened ones. Where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. And I pray that the Lama may have good health. I pray that the Lama may have long life. I pray that your Dharma activities spread far and wide. I pray that I may not be separated from you. So everybody wants to have their Lama. They want to be able to see them all the time. They want to be able to go, and know that they're going to be at the Dharma center or wherever. But they go traveling. That's their job, is to go to many different people. But we should realize that no matter where they go, no matter where we are connected through our hearts with them. That's what's important. And that we never leave each other because of that heart connection. As Manjushri, the warrior. So Manjushri was the Bodhisattva Manjushri, who we just talked about was the Bodhisattva of wisdom. The warrior, he is the warrior against ignorance, the warrior against suffering. And through his wisdom, he's able to actualize the compassion to be able to overcome. So he realized the ultimate state. The ultimate state is Buddhahood. And as did Samantabhadra. The Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, who we just talked about, was devotion. Having devotion to the practice, devotion to the study, devotion to the meditation, devotion to the Sangha, the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. And all good. Samantabhadra means all good. I will follow in their path and fully dedicate all the merit for all sentient beings. So all the merit that I have is going to be dedicated for the benefit of others, not selfishly holding on to it. Then, by the blessing of the Buddha who attained the three kayas, by the blessing of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such, by the blessing of the indivisible Sangha order, may the merit I share bear fruit. So the Buddha who attained the three kayas are the Dharmakaya, which is the mind of the Buddha, the Sambhogakaya, which is the speech of the Buddha, the intellect of the Buddha, and the Nirmanakaya, which is the emanation body, the physical body of the Buddha. By the blessing of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such, so the intellectualization of this whole process is the Dharma, the blessing of that truth. And by the blessing of the indivisible Sangha order, may the merit I share bear fruit. So the Sangha, we are the Sangha, our brothers and sisters, and we have the 8 great Bodhisattva Sangha to help us, to guide us, to show us the way, and so on. Then the next page is the Daikarma prayer. By the virtues collected in the three times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate road of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. So the virtues collected in the three times, the past, present, and future. By myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana. So we're celebrating for all beings that are in samsara and nirvana. It's good fortune that we had to be here, to be able to do that. By the innate word of virtue, it is our innate goodness to be this. That's what Samantabhadra is symbolic of, is our innate goodness, all good. May I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Trikumpa Ratnashri, the great Trikumpa is Lord Jigdan Sumgun, who is the founder of this lineage. So Ratnashri means the great jewel, the noble jewel. Ratna is a jewel, Shri is great or noble. And Drikungpa, he's from Drikung, the village called Drikung is Drikung Kagyu. That's where our lineage, the monastery came from, where Lord Jigdan Sumgun built the monastery. Who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Omniscience is two words, omniscience. Omni means all, and science means to know. So it's all knowing. Who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, master of interdependence. Interdependence means all this phenomenal nature and the way it all comes together, like I was talking about Chakra Samvara, to be able to recognize that and see all this and become a master of this. To become a complete human being is a great thing. So being able to do that, to become the master of interdependence, not to say, oh, it happens when I die and I go some other place. That's when I become realized. No, you become realized in this life. So we continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. When does samsara end? Samsara may never end. This ocean of suffering may never end for all these beings. It's been going on for time immemorial, but it can end for me. It can end for you. And each one of us, samsara can be over, can end when we liberate ourselves from samsara. That's when it ends. And that's what we need to work for to help ourselves, but to help other beings. By helping other beings to recognize that, we help ourselves. So until the end of samsara, until we end samsara for ourselves and for as many beings as we can help do that. So then we'll just go through this dedication prayer quickly. Glorious, holy, venerable, precious, kind root, and lineage lamas, divine assembly of yidams, assemblies of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, yogins, yoginis, and dakinis, dwelling in the 10 directions, please hear my prayer. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana and the innate word of virtue not result in the 8 worldly concerns, the 4 causes of samsara, or rebirth as a Sravaka or Pratyeka Buddha. May all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me and mine, obstructors who harm, misleading Mars and the hordes of demons, experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, ignorance, arrogance, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May attachment to fame, reputation, wealth, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, and bodhicitta. And through that, may I become a spiritual master with good qualities equal to the infinity of space. May I gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. May the torment of suffering not arise even at the time of my death. May I not die with negative thoughts. May I not die confused by wrong view. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the great luminosity of the mind as such and the pervading clarity of Dharmata. May I, in any case, gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra at the time of death or in the bardo. Om, Ah, Hum. Om, Ah, Hum. Om, Ah, Hum. May my body, speech, and mind become inseparable with the body, speech, and mind of all the enlightened ones for the benefit of all sentient beings. Thank you all very much for paying attention.
Thank you for imparting your knowledge upon us.
Well, it's just part of a continuum. May you pass it along.
Yes. Thanks, Lance.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you, Tom. Katie, thank you. And Michael, thank you. All right. So we'll Thursday night we've got Medicine Buddha. And then Sunday, is it Saturday or Sunday is Garchen Rinpoche. The 17th, is it?
I think it's Saturday.
It's Saturday? 16th? Right, Saturday at 1 o'clock on Zoom. So, all right, we'll talk to y'all later. Thank you. If anybody has any questions, I'll hang around for a bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Bodhisattva.
Thank you all.
Mhm.